Welcome back to Kentucky Sports Television. Mark Stoops and his new staff have hit the ground running. DJ Elliott was out recruiting even before he was officially announced as defensive coordinator. I'm now joined by Steve Jones of the Louisville Courier-Journal to give us the scoop on all things football recruiting. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Great. We always love to have you on. Now, there's a lot of recruiting going on with this new staff. They really have hit the ground running. And one of the state's best recruits, Ryan Timmons, out of Franklin County High School, has been getting some special attention from Mark Stoops and his staff. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, definitely. He seems to have, he was already, I think, a priority to Joker Phillips' staff, and they've carried it over now with Mark Stoops being hired. DJ Elliott went and saw Ryan Timmons just, I think, a couple hours after he got cleared by the NCAA to be a recruiter for Kentucky last Thursday. And then earlier this week, the day that Neil Brown was hired, Ryan Timmons called Neil Brown and they talked. And I wouldn't have been surprised if maybe they've been by in the last day or two as well to see him. I'm not sure if they have or not, but definitely it had long conversations with Ryan, telling him that he's a priority. Had the fact that Texas Tech, Neil Brown's offense is very similar to what Franklin County has run, as far as throwing a lot to the running backs and having slot receivers and all sorts of things that fit in well with some of the plays that Franklin County does, and what Ryan Timmons has made him an amazing offensive player. He's interested in that. And there was supposed to be a good chance he could possibly go to Kentucky's basketball game this weekend and take a quick visit, and definitely is planning on taking an official visit sometime in January. And Kentucky is going to be one of his final 3 or 4, I believe.
And one of those guys I'm sure Neil Brown would love to have. Now, you wrote an article yesterday about how quarterback recruit Drew Barker was impressed by Neil Brown simply from watching that YouTube video of the Texas Tech offense. What are the chances that he could come to Lexington as well?
Well, I think it's a pretty good possibility. He's a 2014 kid, so he's still a year off. He said that I talked to him again last night. He said that Neil Brown called him, and they had a half-an-hour conversation last night, and he had told him that he was going to be a number one priority for Kentucky in the 2014 class, but that they were focusing on 2013 for the next 6 weeks or however long until signing day. But I don't think it would be a surprise at all to see him get an offer from UK at some point. His very first offer was from Louisville, and he stays in contact with them. And obviously they've had great success with their quarterbacks with Teddy Bridgewater, and that's an exciting offense too, and he likes that. South Carolina, he's had an offer from Indiana. Ohio State is interested in him too. So there's a lot of interest in Drew Barker, but he's a really good player. He's big and strong and can run and throw. And should only get better with another year of high school. So he was very intrigued by Kentucky, though. He liked Coach Brown's offense. That the YouTube video that shows all the highlights from Texas Tech, he thought that was, I think he said it, he thought it was awesome, I think was the word that he used. And he said he was really honored. That was also the word that he used, that he was honored that he had Coach Brown tell him that he was going to be a priority for Kentucky.
Goes to show how far things are come when recruits are looking at YouTube videos. But in addition to new guys, the UK staff is holding on to guard Ramsey Myers. How much does that impact next year's team on the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I've not talked to Ramsey recently, but that's not a surprise that they would want to keep him. He's a good player. He jumped on board with Kentucky fairly quickly. Had also had some interest, I believe, from UCF and several Florida mid-major schools, but probably an interior lineman for UK. And I think it's good that the staff would probably want to keep all of their ties in Florida if they've made some with some of these recruits, that they don't want to have to pull offers from any of these guys. So I think that's probably a good sign for them. I know that they have about 3 or 4 current commits among offensive linemen. I think it's still a little bit undetermined whether or not they'll keep all those guys or whether all those guys will want to stay on board. But so far, from all of the commitments that I've spoken to, they all seem fairly enthusiastic about wanting to stay with UK if UK wants to stay with them. And so far, no indications that there are any guys that they for sure do not want to keep, although it could be possible that some of those will be revealed at some other point soon enough.
Now, one of the things that fans are really excited about is that Mark Stoops and DJ Elliott have strong recruiting ties in other states. Are we going to get to see some Florida boys actually come to Lexington?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's they'll have a really good foothold down there in Florida. I think that of course Mike Cassidy and then Greg and Mike Summers and those guys were doing really well down there actually this year, and they had a majority of guys from Florida in the class. But yeah, I think that the name recognition of Mark Stoops, especially for defensive players, is going to be a big deal. DJ Elliott is a really dynamic, charismatic guy that's gonna really probably be able to sell a chance to play in the SEC and probably have early playing time. And they do have a lot of things to offer at Kentucky if a kid is very interested in playing right away and getting to play in the best conference.
Now, on the flip side, Neil Brown is born and bred here in Kentucky. He was a Wildcat under Hal Mumme. How much do you think that will help in in-state recruiting?
Well, I think Neil's got a lot of he's well respected in the state among high school coaches. I mean, I'm not sure how many 16, 17-year-old kids now remember anything that happened in 1998. But they back when he was playing for UK. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a point that he can sell, that he wanted to come back home, that he feels strongly about being a coach at Kentucky, and that he has a vision for this place along with Mark Stoops. And I think that'll resonate with some kids in the state. You talked about Drew Barker a little while ago. He said that, that was one thing, that he's always been attracted by the idea of the state schools being very interested in him. And he viewed that as an honor for him. So I think that is definitely something that is going to help out Neil Brown as he tries to go around the state, just to sell that he's a Kentucky guy himself.
Steve, making us all feel old remembering Hal Mumme football long ago in 1998. Thanks so
Right.
much for joining us. We always love to have you on, and you always have all the recruiting news for us.
Thanks a lot. Anytime.